On a random Tuesday afternoon, I lost everything and gained more than I ever imagined. First, I got fired from my dream job at Vogue. Then came the Instagram bombshell. My ex-boyfriend was marrying my best friend, and before I could even blink, I inherited a billion-dollar hotel empire from the mother who abandoned me. We regret to inform you that your position has been eliminated effective immediately. The words from HR burned on my screen as I sat frozen at my design desk. After 5 years of 70-hour weeks, sacrificing everything for the senior stylist position, I was being discarded like last season's trends. I hadn't even finished clearing my desk when my phone buzzed. The Instagram notification made my stomach drop. She said whistled. Can't wait to marry my soulmate Zoe Parker. There was Mike, my boyfriend of 3 years, correction, ex-boyfriend of 6 months, down on one knee in front of my supposed best friend since college. The same best friend who had consoled me after our breakup, assuring me I deserved better than Mike. The same best friend who swore she'd never even liked him. The diamond on her finger was at least 3 carats. Funny how Mike had always said he didn't believe in expensive jewelry when we were together. My vision blurred. For a second, I couldn't breathe. What the hell was happening today? I was still staring at their beaming faces when my phone rang again. Undern number, is this Emma Chen? A formal voice inquired. Yes, I managed tossing lipsticks and fashion lookbooks into a cardboard box. This is Theodore Harrington from Blackwell & Associates. I represent the estate of your mother, Victoria Chen. I need to speak with you regarding your inheritance. My mother, the woman who'd abandoned me with my father when I was 8 to build her hotel empire in Asia, the woman who sent birthday checks but never calls, the same woman whose funeral I attended 3 weeks ago, standing awkwardly among business associates who knew her better than I did. There must be some mistake, I said. My mother and I weren't close. Nevertheless, Miss Chen, you are the sole heir to Luminous Hotels International, valued at approximately $1.2 billion. The board is expecting you tomorrow at 9 a.m. I nearly dropped my phone. Billion? With a B? Yes, Miss Chen. However, there are conditions. You must prove yourself capable of running the company within 1 year or ownership reverts to the board of directors. I looked down at the cardboard box containing my professional life, then back at the Instagram post where my personal life lay in shambles. Miss Chen, are you there? I'll be there, I said, a strange calm settling over me. 9 a.m. sharp. What Theodore Harrington didn't tell me then, what I would discover only after stepping into my mother's world, was that she hadn't died of natural causes as reported, and someone at Luminous Hotels was willing to ensure I'd fail, no matter the cost. My life had imploded and reconstructed itself in the span of 30 minutes. I was no longer Emma Chen, fired fashion stylist and betrayed ex-girlfriend. I was Emma Chen, hotel heiress with a target on my back. What I didn't know yet was who put it there or how far they'd go to destroy me. Game on. Luminous Hotels International's headquarters occupied the top 10 floors of a gleaming skyscraper in downtown Manhattan. I arrived at 8:45 a.m. wearing the most expensive outfit I owned, a black Messipa suit I'd scored at a sample sale last year, my armor. The receptionist's perfectly sculpted eyebrow arched when I announced myself, Emma Chen, Victoria's daughter. Her tone suggested I was claiming to be a unicorn. Do you have identification? After verifying I wasn't an imposter, she escorted me to a conference room where 7 people in tailored suits sat around a massive glass table. Their conversations died the moment I walked in. Miss Chen, welcome. A silver-haired man approached. I am Walter Graves, etc. FO, we weren't sure you'd come. Why wouldn't I asked, accepting his limp handshake. Victoria rarely mentioned you, a woman with a severe bob stated without introducing herself. We assumed you weren't involved. I am Diane Mercer, Chief Hygiene Officer, continued another woman, smoothly filling the awkward silence. We prepared a basic overview of Luminous operations for you. As the executives introduced themselves, I felt them assessing me, my clothes, my posture, my worth. Only one person hadn't spoken. A man in his mid-30s with dark hair and sharp features who leaned against the wall, arms crossed. And you are? I asked directly. Ryan West, EO. His voice was deep, his gaze calculating. Your mother's right hand, the lawyer. Theodore finally arrived and explained the terms of my inheritance. My mother had left me controlling interest in Luminous Hotels' 27 luxury properties across 3 continents, with a condition. I had to prove myself capable of leadership within 1 year or everything would be divided among the board members. Victoria specified that you must increase company value by at least 8% and successfully launch the San Francisco property on schedule, Theodore explained. Ryan scoffed. No offense, but what does a fashion stylist know about running a billion-dollar hotel chain? I don't know yet, I admitted, but I am a quick study. This isn't a fashion magazine, Ryan said. You can't just accessorize a hotel and call it revolutionary. The board members exchanged smirks. Miss Chen, Walter interjected. We respect Victoria's wishes, but perhaps we could discuss a gentler arrangement. You could maintain ownership while we handle operations. XMN wins. I understood immediately. They wanted me to be a figurehead while they ran my mother's company. The company she'd apparently wanted me to have. I appreciate the offer, I said slowly, but I'd like to see my mother's office first. Diane led me to the top floor where my mother's corner office overlooked Central Park. The space was immaculate, minimalist furniture, a few Asian art pieces, a wall of industry awards, nothing personal, no photos. No evidence of me. Your mother was private, Diane offered. She was a stranger, I replied honestly. After Diane left, I sat in my mother's chair, running my fingers along the polished desk. A notification lit up my phone, another Instagram post from Zoe and Mike, this time at a cake tasting. Number wedding planning, number best day ever. I closed the app and opened my laptop, starting to research Luminous Hotels. If the board thought I'd hand over my inheritance without a fight, they were sorely mistaken. Hours later, there was a knock at the door. Ryan entered without waiting for a response. The executive team is leaving for dinner. You are welcome to join. No thanks, I have work to do. He lingered, assessing me. Look, I knew your mother well. This isn't what she would have wanted. And what would she have wanted? She built this company from nothing. It was her life. She wouldn't want it in inexperienced hands, yet here we are. I met his gaze steadily. What do you actually want, Emma? Money? There are easier ways to get it. Maybe I want what was mine all along. The attention of a mother who chose her hotels over her daughter. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Something flickered in Ryan's eyes, surprise, maybe even respect. Your mother kept a private safe in her penthouse, he said finally. The combination was your birthday. With that cryptic statement, he left that night. I took a car to my mother's penthouse on 5th Avenue. The doorman recognized my name instantly and escorted me upstairs. Your mother spoke of you often, Miss Chen, he said kindly. I froze. She did. Oh yes, she kept all your magazine work. Very proud. That couldn't be right. The mother I knew sent birthday checks with pre-signed cards. She didn't collect magazine clippings or talk about me to doormen. The penthouse was as impersonal as her office, hark and elegant, but without warmth. I found the safe hidden behind a painting walking in her bedroom and entered my birthday. Inside was a leather-bound journal, a USB drive, and a handwritten note addressed to me. Emma, if you are reading this, I didn't make it. Trust no one at Luminous, not even Ryan West. Sleep eluded me that night as I pored over my mother's journal. The entries dated back 5 years, chronicling her growing suspicion that someone close to her was sabotaging Luminous hotels. Deals mysteriously collapsed. Tiers backed out. Competitors received insider information. I can't trust anyone, she'd written 3 months before her death. The betrayal must come from my inner circle, but I can't determine who. The USB drive contained financial records, correspondence, and security footage from various hotel properties. Nothing immediately suspicious jumped out, but I wasn't a forensic accountant or a detective. I was a former fashion stylist with a target on my back. I arrived at headquarters early the next morning before most of the executive team. Theodore had emailed overnight that I could appoint a personal assistant. I'd need someone on my side by 9. I'd interviewed 3 candidates handpicked by HR, all with impressive resumes but evasive answers about why they wanted to work directly with me. I rejected them all. The 4th candidate wasn't on the schedule. She knocked hesitantly, then entered without waiting for a response. Miss Chen, I am Priya Sharma. The young woman looked barely out of college. She wore glasses and a simple but elegant pantsuit. I know I am not on your list, but I worked as your mother's research assistant. AR discouraged me from applying. That immediately caught my attention. Why? They said you'd want someone with executive assistant experience. Priya shifted nervously, but I thought, I knew your mother's systems, I could help with the transition. Why did AR really block you? I asked directly. Priya studied me for a moment, then closed the door. Your mother trusted me. The week before she died, she had me researching board members' personal finances. After she passed, I was transferred to the archives department. You were demoted effectively? Yes, you are hired, I said. Scod by telling me everything you know about my mother's death. Priya looked relieved. The official story is she had a heart attack while swimming in her pool, but your mother was a health fanatic. She did triathlons, and she hesitated. And what, Priya? She'd asked me to look into medical symptoms of different poisons the day before she died. My blood ran cold. I thought of my mother's note. Trust no one at Luminous. Not even Ryan West. We'll need to be careful, I said quietly. Who should I watch closest? Walter Graves controls the money. Diane Mercer knows all the company secrets, and Ryan West. He was closest to your mother. He would have had the most access. What about the board members? Harrison Field and Patricia Winters were both passed over for promotion when your mother hired Ryan externally 5 years ago. They've been bitter ever since. We spent the morning reviewing upcoming projects. The San Francisco property Luminous Bay was the crown jewel, a $240 million renovation of a historic building into a luxury hotel and spa. It was 80% complete, but behind schedule and over budget. This is what my mother wanted me to successfully launch, I mused. Let's schedule a site visit for next week. When Ryan appeared in my doorway at noon, Priya and I were surrounded by spreckets and architectural renderings. I see you rescued Priya from document storage, he said coolly. I've hired an assistant I can trust, I replied. Interesting choice. His eyes lingered on the San Francisco plans. I want to understand why we're behind schedule. My team sends weekly reports. I am happy to walk you through them. I prefer to see for myself. Ryan studied me with that inscrutable gaze. Your mother was the same way, stubborn, determined, I corrected. The contractors won't respond well to micromanagement from someone with no hospitality experience. Then I'll have to win them over. A hint of a smile touched his lips. Good luck with that. The site manager has made 3 project managers cry. I spent 5 years managing prima donna models and temperamental photographers. I can handle a construction crew. We'll see. Ryan turned to leave, then paused. The executive team has a standing dinner on Thursdays. 8 o'clock at Barolo. You should join if you are serious about learning the business. After he left, Priya looked worried, but careful around him. He and your mother were inseparable professionally. You think he could have hurt her? I am saying someone did, and he had the most opportunity that afternoon. I reviewed the company's social media and website. The branding was elegant, but outdated. All marble lobbies and chandeliers, missing the experiential focus younger luxury travelers craved. Millennials and General Z will inherit $68 trillion by 2030, I told Priya. We need to appeal to them without alienating traditional luxury clients. Diane will fight any rebranding. Then we'll need to make our case ironclad. At 7:45, I found myself outside Barolo, an upscale Italian restaurant in Vica. I'd changed into a vintage door dress, understated but unmistakably high fashion. My armor for the evening. Inside, the executive team occupied a private dining room. Mevaciation halted when I entered, but Walter quickly recovered, pulling out a chair. Emma, delighted you could join us. We were just discussing the quarterly projections. As wine flowed, the conversation grew less darted. Diane detailed a marketing campaign targeting ultra-high net worth clients in emerging markets. Harrison Fields complained about the entitled millennial workforce. Patricia Winters subtly questioned my qualifications while appearing supportive. Fashion and hospitality aren't so different, I said when Patricia asked about my adjustment. Both create experiences that make people feel special, but one requires significantly more business acumen, Patricia replied with a thin smile. And both attract sharks, I countered pleasantly. People who smile while they circle for weakness. An uncomfortable silence fell until Ryan unexpectedly spoke up. Emma's right, luxury is luxury regardless of the product. That's what Victoria understood. The psychology of exclusivity. As dinner ended, Ryan fell into step beside me outside the restaurant. You surprised them tonight, he said. They expected a tantrum or intimidation. You showed neither. Disappointed? Intrigued, he admitted. You are not what I expected. What did you expect? Someone easier to manipulate. He flagged it down a taxi. Your mother's journal, did it mention the O-Dragon investment? I kept my expression neutral, though my heart raced. The journal had indeed mentioned the mysterious Asian investor group called Hey Dragon that had pulled out of a deal weeks before my mother's death. Why do you ask? Be careful digging into that particular deal for the first time. Ryan looked genuinely concerned. Some questions are dangerous. Before I could respond, my phone rang. An unknown number, I answered hesitantly. Miss Chen, a man's voice unfamiliar. I worked security for your mother. We need to meet. I know what happened the night she died. Who is this? I asked, but the line went dead. Ryan was watching me carefully. Problemin. Just a wrong number. I lied, suddenly acutely aware that I had no idea who I could trust, and time was already running out. The security guard, Marcus Jenkins, agreed to meet me at a coffee shop in Brooklyn, far from any Luminous Hotels properties. I arrived early, choosing a table with a clear view of both entrances. Priya had insisted on coming with me, but waited at a separate table, pretending to study trust. No one had become my mantra. Marcus arrived 15 minutes late, nervous and constantly checking over his shoulder. He'd worked security at my mother's building for 7 years. The night she died, I was on duty, he said in a low voice. Your mother called down around 8 p.m. asking if anyone had been to her penthouse that day, had they? That's just it. The security cameras had had a malfunction from 2:04 p.m., I told her, and she seemed scared, said she was going to check something and call me back. He fidgeted with his coffee cup. She never did. Did you report this to the police? Said Mr. West. The police weren't interested. Heart attacks happen. Mr. West said he'd look into it, but the next day I was transferred to a hotel in Queens. Last week I was laid off. Do you have proof of the camera malfunction? Marcus slid a USB drive across the table. I made a copy of the logs before they disappeared from the system after he left. Priya joined me. We need to be careful with this information, she warned. If someone killed your mother and covered it up, they won't hesitate to come after you too. Then we need leverage. I decided something that makes me more valuable alive than dead back at headquarters. I threw myself into learning the business. I studied financial reports, customer feedback, competitor analyses. Each night, I returned to my mother's penthouse, now my penthouse, and examined her personal records, looking for connections. Meanwhile, my plan for Luminous Hotels began taking shape. I scheduled meetings with Bickle & Cheese and social media consultants under the guise of personal styling projects. I researched sustainable luxury practices and tech integration. I compiled a database of negative reviews and identified recurring problems across properties. The board watched me with thinly veiled skepticism. Only Ryan seemed genuinely curious about my activities, though his motives remained unclear. You've been here 3 weeks without demanding any changes, he noted one evening, stopping by my office. That's unexpected. I'm still learning, I replied, menacing the screen where I'd been reviewing my rebranding presentation. Your mother would have implemented 6 new policies by now. I am not my mother. Ryan studied me for a moment. No, you are not. She never would have hired Priya back or met with Marcus Jenkins. My blood ran cold. You are having me followed. I am keeping you alive, he countered. If you keep digging into Victoria's death so publicly, you'll meet the same fate. Is that a threat? It's a warning. You are not the only one who lost someone. For a brief moment, genuine grief flashed across his face. Victoria was more than my boss. Before I could respond, Walter Graves appeared in the doorway. Emma, glad I caught you. The quarterly board meeting has been moved up to tomorrow morning. You'll be expected to present your vision for the company. His smug smile told me everything. They were trying to blindside me after Walter left. Ryan looked troubled. They're moving faster than I expected. What do you mean? They're setting you up to fail. Once the board loses confidence in you, they can petition the courts to overturn Victoria's will. They can try, I said, already mentally rearranging my schedule. I'd been preparing my presentation for the regular meeting next month, but I could accelerate my timeline. You need more time, Ryan insisted. I don't have more time, I have tonight. After everyone left Priya and I worked until dawn finalizing my presentation and strategy, at 8:45 a.m. running on Fessa and determination, I walked into the boardroom wearing my best Stella McCartney power suit. The board members exchanged confident glances as I connected my laptop to the projector. They thought they had me cornered. They were wrong. Before I begin, I announced, I'd like to address the elephant in the room. You don't think I belong here. You are waiting for me to fail. You've already decided Luminous Hotels isn't my legacy to claim. Uncomfortable shuffling around the table, but here's what you've missed. I never wanted hotels. I wanted a mother. Since I can't have that, I'll take the empire instead. I launched into my presentation, not the safe, conservative approach they expected, but a bold reimagining of Luminous Hotels for a new generation of luxury travelers. Our current client base is aging out millennials and General Z control an increasing share of luxury spending, but our properties don't speak to them. We're seen as their parents' hotels. I showed them social media sentiment analyses, competitor strategies, and market research. Then I revealed my plan. Authentic luxury campaigns featuring real guests rather than models, sustainability initiatives, technology integrations, and personalization strategies. For the San Francisco property, I propose a complete pivot. A tech-forward, sustainable luxury experience targeting Silicon Valley executives and the conscious luxury market. I wrapped up with financial projections showing potential 12% growth rather than the required 8%. When I finished, the room was silent. Walter recovered first. The board would need considerable convincing. Actually, Ryan interrupted. As CEO, I can approve relocation of the existing San Francisco budget. No board approval needed for a strategic pivot within budget constraints. Walter looked stunned. Patricia Winters narrowed her eyes. Ryan, you've consistently advocated for traditional luxury approaches. Why the sudden change of heart? Ryan's expression remained professional, but I detected something new in his eyes when he glanced my way. Because Emma's right, Victoria built this company by anticipating market shifts, not following them. This plan honors that legacy. For the first time since I'd arrived at Luminous, I felt a glimmer of real hope and confusion. Why was Ryan suddenly supporting me? Back in my office, I collapsed into my chair, growling and crashed, hitting hard. Priya brought me coffee and a triumphant smile. You did it. Did you see their faces? It's just the beginning, I cautioned. They'll regroup and try something else. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Check your mother's appointment book for the 15th of March. Pertar. Priya and I exchanged looks. Ryan? She asked. Apparently that night I found the appointment in question. A meeting with someone identified only as JD at a restaurant in Chinatown. On Dragon perhaps. As I pondered the connection, an email notification appeared on my phone. From Zoe. Emma, we need to talk. Mike admitted everything. I know you probably hate me, but this is bigger than our drama. It's about your mother. Me attached was a photo of Mike with Diane Mercer looking very much like more than business associates. You have exactly 5 minutes to explain why I shouldn't hang up, I told Zoe when I finally called her the next morning. My voice was ice, but my hand trembled. Mike was hired to spy on you, she blurted, by someone at your mother's company. I sat down slowly. What are you talking about? Last year, someone from Luminous approached him with a proposition. He was supposed to get close to you, report on your activities, your ambitions. She rushed her words as if afraid I cut her off. At first it was just casual if you ever mentioned your mother or the hotel business. Then it got more intense, and my throat felt tight. Where do you fit in this betrayal? I didn't know at first, I swear. Mike and I, it just happened. But a few weeks ago I overheard him on the phone talking about you and Luminous. When I confronted him, he admitted everything. Why come clean now? Because they're escalating. 2 days ago, someone broke into his apartment and took his laptop. He's scared. She paused. Emma, they asked him to plant something in your apartment? He refused, and now he's terrified they'll come after him or me. My mind raced. Who hired him? Diane Mercer. He never met his handler directly, but he received payments from a shell company. I found a photo on his phone of him with that woman from your company at some charity event last fall. If you are lying to me again, I know you have no reason to trust me. I betrayed our friendship, and I'll regret that forever. But I am telling the truth now because I am scared, and because despite everything, I do care about you. I ended the call, my thoughts in turmoil. If Zoe was telling the truth, Diane had been monitoring me long before my mother died, which meant the plot against Victoria had included plans for me from the beginning. But why I'd never shown interest in Luminous Hotels, Ines, I called Priya. I need you to find every public mention of me in connection with Luminous or my mother from the past 2 years. Article, social media, anything. By the time I reached the office, Priya had compiled a disturbing timeline 18 months ago. A minor fashion blog had run a profile on me that mentioned my estrangement from hotel heiress Victoria Chen. 3 weeks later, Mike had appeared at a Fashion Week event where I was working and asked me out. The timing couldn't be coincidence. Tears more, Priya said, lowering her voice, though we were alone in my office. I cross-referenced your mother's calendar with board meetings and found something strange. Every time she met with this TD, there was a board meeting within 48 hours where she announced a major policy change. She was getting information from this person that influenced company decisions, I theorized. Yes, and the last meeting was 3 days before she died. A knock interrupted us. Ryan stood in the doorway, expression grave. We need to talk privately. I nodded to Priya, who gathered her papers and left, giving Ryan a suspicious glance. The board is moving against you, he said without preamble. Walter has called an emergency session for tomorrow. They're going to vote on a motion to petition the court to invalidate Victoria's will on grounds of mental incapacity. Can they do that? They can try. Walter's brother is a state judge. Ryan hesitated. The San Francisco property has structural issues that were concealed from Victoria. I've suspected sabotage for months. Why are you telling me this? Because I made your mother a promise. He met my eyes before she died. Victoria knew someone was working against her. She made me swear to protect her legacy and you. If anything happened to her, why should I believe you? My mother's note specifically said not to trust you. Surprise flickered across his face. She left you a note when in her safe. It warned me not to trust anyone at Luminous, especially you. Ryan looked genuinely troubled. Victoria and I had our differences, but she trusted me. Sheeman must have. He stopped suddenly. When exactly did you find this note? The night you told me about the safe. I never told you about any safe. The realization hit us both simultaneously. Sheeman had impersonated Ryan to lead me to a planted note. Someone who knew my mother's safe combination was my birthday. Walter has access to Victoria's penthouse, Ryan said slowly. He helped her set up her estate planning. My phone buzzed with a text from Priya. Security alert. 7 accessed your mother's penthouse 20 minutes ago. Ryan read the message over my shoulder. We need to go. Now I am not going anywhere with you until I know who to trust. Fine. He pulled out his phone and showed me a video. My mother in her office recording a message. Ryan, if you are showing this to Emma, it means I was right about the danger. Tell her. I left the proof she'll need in the place. I always kept her birthday presents. She'll understand a timestamp was 2 days before her death. My chest tightened. My mother had actually planned for my protection. She had thought of me. Birthday presents, Ryan asked. She sent them to my father's house. I never opened them. A memory surfaced. My father mentioning a storage unit where he'd kept my mother's annual packages. I know where to look. As we hurried to the elevator, Harrison Fields emerged from the conference room. Emma, perfect timing. The site manager in San Francisco needs authorization for a budget increase. Email me the details, I said, trying to appear normal. I am headed to a meeting. Harrison's eyes narrowed as he noted Ryan beside me. Walter was looking for you earlier, Ryan. Something about discrepancies in the quarterly projections. I'll find him later, Ryan replied smoothly. In the car, Ryan explained that he'd suspected someone was sabotaging Luminous projects for at least a year. Victoria noticed 2 equipment failures, missed inspections, permits mysteriously delayed. Why didn't she fire the people responsible? Because we couldn't identify who was behind it. The evidence always led to low-level employees who had been set up. He glanced at me after your presentation yesterday. I had my team quietly analyze your projections. They're solid, Emma, better than solid. If you pull this off, Luminous will be positioned perfectly for the next decade. You sound surprised. I am. I thought Victoria was making a mistake with her will. I assumed you'd sell the company or run it into the ground. Thanks for the vote of confidence, I said dryly. Now I understand what she saw. You have her vision but your own perspective. That's exactly what Luminous needs. My father's storage unit was in Queens, a small space packed with furniture and boxes. In the back corner, I found what I was looking for. A stack of carefully wrapped birthday gifts, one for each year since I was 8. I'd been too angry to open them, seeing them as guilt payments rather than genuine gestures. With trembling hands, I opened the most recent one for my 28th birthday 4 months ago. Inside was a beautiful leather journal with a note. For when you are ready to write your own story. Tucked into the journal was a safety deposit box key. Chase Bankaton branch. Ryan recognized the logo. Victoria kept a personal box there separate from Luminous at the bank. The manager escorted us to the vault. Inside the safety deposit box, we found a USB drive and a sealed envelope addressed to me. My mother's letter was 8 pages long, detailing her suspicions that Walter Graves and Diane Mercer were working together to sabotage Luminous projects and devalue the company. Their ultimate goal, a private takeover with backing from a Chinese investment group that would strip the company's assets and real estate. Jade Dragon, I murmured. Victoria was gathering evidence against them, Ryan explained. The week before she died, she told me she finally had proof. As we drove back to Manhattan, I read every word my mother had written. Not just about the conspiracy, but about me. The final paragraph made tears well in my eyes. Emma, I failed you as a mother. I told myself I was building this company for you, but the truth is I was hiding in my work because being a mother terrified me more than any business challenge. I've followed your career from afar, so proud of the woman you've become without me. I hope someday you can forgive me enough to accept this legacy, not because you need it, but because it needs you. My phone rang, startling me from my thoughts. It was Priya, her voice frantic. Emma, where are you? Walter called an emergency board meeting for 4 p.m. today, not tomorrow. They're voting to remove you right now. Ryan accelerated. We'll never make it back in time. We don't have to, I said, an idea forming. I know how to stop them. I called Theodore Harrington and explained the situation. Can you stall them? I need 20 minutes. I can try, but without evidence. Check your email in 5 minutes. You'll have everything you need. The USB drive contained financial records, emails, and surveillance footage documenting Walter and Diane's sabotage efforts. Most damning was a recorded conversation between Walter and a fortunate representative discussing how Victoria's unfortunate accident had accelerated their timeline. I forwarded everything to Theodore, the company's legal team, and for insurance, a journalist contact from my Vogue days. What now? Ryan asked as we hit traffic. My phone buzzed with a text from Priya. Board meeting chaos. Walter and Diane trying to adjourn. Police arrived. I showed Ryan the message. Now we take.